Hello, in this tutorial we're going to look at how to capture user input by creating a form. So we're going to start working with forms and collecting data from the user. In this tutorial what we'll do is create a form with a text box where the user can enter in their name, and then a message with their name or a greeting with their name will be displayed back to the user. So we'll look at the two different types of methods for getting information from the user, and then we'll look at how to actually handle the input from a form. So to start with, I have two files, so you'll need two files for this. One is called form.html, so it's a HTML file, and the other one is called actionhandler.php. It's just a PHP file. Okay, so we're going to be working with a bit of HTML to create the form on the web page, and then the PHP code will be handling the form and we'll take the data and use it in some way. So to create a HTML file, we start with the HTML tag, and we'll add a head section on this web page so that we can put in a title for the web page. So we'll just call it my form, and then we'll close the head section. Alright, next we'll add the body tag, and the body section of the web page is where the content will be displayed. So this is where the form will go. We'll just close off that tag and then close off the HTML tag. So if you're not sure, or if you haven't used or written HTML before, then basically it might be a good idea to watch the HTML and CSS video tutorials. But basically we have all the HTML code inside these opening and closing HTML tags. Then we have a head section and a body section. The head section is where information about the web page goes, so usually the title, different keywords might go in there for search engines. And then the body is the section where all the content goes. So to start with, we'll add a form. Actually, we'll add a heading here. So use the h3 tag. And for this heading, we'll just say something like enter your name below. And we'll close off that heading there. Alright, so we've got a heading that says enter your name below. And then we'll create a form. Its action will be equal to the file name that's going to contain the PHP code. So in my case, it's called action_handler.php. So that's what should go in here. If you've named your file differently, then you should specify that here as well. So form action equals actionhandler.php. So the action that takes place when this form information is submitted is that this PHP file here will take the form data and use it in some way. Method is equal to post, and we'll look at what that means in a few minutes. Okay, and so that's the start of the form. Then inside the form we need to have some input. So we'll create a new paragraph and we'll say name, and inside this paragraph we'll add an input which is a text box. So input type equals text. So we'll have a text box here where they can enter their name, the user, and the name of this text box is just going to be called name, okay, because it's going to ask for their name. So that could be anything else, like name equals email address, name equals username, name equals password, name equals postcode, anything like that. But we're going to be collecting the user's name, so we'll just call it name. And then after that, we'll close off that input tag. We'll add a space, and then we'll add a button to submit the form data. So it will be input type equals submit for a submit button. Okay, then we can close that off and close the paragraph. And lastly, close off the form tag. And that's it. Okay, so save the HTML. You can go to that file in the browser, and this is what it looks like at the moment. So enter your name below, and the user can type in their name there, and then click on submit. At the moment, if you click on submit, nothing will happen because we haven't added the code to the PHP file. So in the PHP file, we've got the PHP tags here to start with, but basically we need to collect the data from the form, put it into a variable, and then we can have an if statement that checks basically if the text box was left empty, then we don't want to display their name because it will be empty. We can ask them to enter it again. Otherwise, if the form text box was not empty, then we can assume a name was entered in there, and we can display a greeting message with the name back to the user. So we'll start by creating a variable called name, and that's going to be equal to $_post. And then in square brackets and inside quotation marks, we'll add the name of the text box that we're getting the data from. Okay, so it's called name. So put that in there, and then end that line with a semicolon. All right. Next thing we can do is add an if statement, and we can check whether the text box is empty by saying if empty. Well, we can actually check if the variable is empty, so if there's no data inside the variable which contains whatever data has been put in the text box. We can check if that's empty, and if it is empty, then we can say back to the user, you must enter your name. Something like that. Okay? Else, if it's not empty and the user has entered their name in, then we can say a little greeting like hello there, and then $name, full stop. Okay, oops, we're going to say hello there, not hill there. Alright, so basically what we're doing is creating a variable called name. We're getting the form data, so the data that was entered in the text box that where the user should enter in their name. And then we're checking if it's empty. If that variable is empty, we tell them to go back and enter their name. Otherwise, we'll display a little greeting to them. So let's test that out. Okay, so I'm going to put name Batman, submit, and then it says hello there Batman. Okay, so that works really well. Alright, that's basically it. So that's how to create a form and then take data and process data from that form. What we've done here is use the post method. Now, basically there's two different methods that we can use for either sending data or retrieving data. And they are the post method and get method. Okay, so the post method, basically the query, so the query here is sent in the body of a post, so the HTTP message body of the post request, and it's basically a more secure method of sending requests or retrieving data. So maybe updating data in a database or retrieving records from a database. That's the post method. Okay, so the query is sent kind of behind the scenes in the HTTP message body of a post request. The other method is called the get method, and that's where the query is sent in the URL of a get request. So if we have a look at this, we type in Batman, click on submit. So right now we're on the form.html page, and when we click on submit, it loads up the actionhandler.php page, which displays the result. So it processes the data and gives us a result. If we go back to the HTML and change method from post to get, save that, and we go to the PHP code and we change the post method here to get, what will happen now is instead of the data being sent behind the scenes in the body of the post request, it's going to be sent here in the URL. So if I type in Batman, click on submit, it does the same thing here, but what we see up here in the address is actionhandler.php ? Name equals Batman. And we could actually change the value there as well. Put name equals Iron Man, and that would say hello there Iron Man. So obviously using the get method is a less secure method. If you're getting the user to enter in their username and password, then obviously you won't want it displayed up here in the URL of the page. That's not very secure if the data is visible. And for updating data in a database as well, you wouldn't want to use the get method. So the get method might be used to retrieve a database record. So for example, a search query. But the post method is often used to update a database record, and it's the most widely used and recommended method. So most of the tutorials from this point forward, working with forms, I'll be demonstrating just using the post method. But there are two different methods to be aware of, post and get. Well, we use get a little bit more, but mostly be using post. Alright, so that's it. That's how to collect data from the user in a form and process that data using PHP. Thanks for watching.